This show is dedicated to helping you strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Welcome to the Marriage, Kids, and Money podcast, everybody. This is Andy Hill, and today we're talking about how we can help our kids become future millionaires. Yes, you heard me, millionaires. In the past on the show, we've discussed the power of compound interest for our own retirement portfolios, but what if we harness that power for our kids? Well, today on the show, I've invited Logan Allec to talk to us about how we can do this with a Roth IRA. Yes, Logan is a CPA, real estate investor, a full-time personal finance blogger, and after spending nearly 10 years helping big businesses save money in his role as a tax advisor, he launched his site Money Done Right with the mission to help everybody make more money, save more money, and grow more money. His financial expertise has been featured in major national publications like NBC News, MarketWatch, and USA Today. And he's a young parent as well. Welcome to the show, Logan.
Hey, Andy. It's great to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, so we're going to help our kids become millionaires today. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. I'm definitely going to learn a lot. So let's start off with the nitty gritty, right? What is a Roth IRA?
Well, a Roth IRA is an investment account that the government basically gives you tax benefits for. You put money into a Roth IRA, you don't get a tax deduction this year, but the money in that Roth IRA, if it's invested, it grows over time. That growth is tax free, and once you start taking it out after age 59 and a half, you can take out those distributions tax free as well. So it really is truly tax-free growth if you can keep that money in the account for the next few decades.
Right, that's the trick, right? Well,
yeah.
So how can we use this tool, the Roth IRA, to help my kid become a millionaire?
Well, the great thing about a Roth IRA for kids is for adults, you often have to make this decision between contributing to a traditional IRA versus a Roth IRA. Right? Because with the traditional IRA, you get the tax benefit now. Well, your child, who probably isn't making a whole lot of money, doesn't really need, and he's probably going to pay no income tax, doesn't really need that tax break now. So the Roth IRA is, in many circumstances, a no-brainer. And, when we say the Roth IRA can make your kid a millionaire, there's some assumptions there based on future growth rates and all that, but they're nothing crazy. Let's say you start paying your kid, $15-20 a week to help you in, let's say your business or something like that, starting at age 9 or 10. And then, that's about $900 a year. And that, let's say that amount increases by $100 a year, all the way through their 18. And let's say they can contribute all those earnings into their Roth IRA. Well, if you kind of do the math, and you assume an 8% rate of return, until they're age 70, which might be, sound a little high to some folks, but, who knows what the future may bring. Just doing that math, just from that amount they put in their Roth IRA throughout their childhood, they're going to end up with the Roth IRA over $1 million by the time they're 70. So, granted, $1 million. 60 years from now might not be, what $1 million is today, but still, that's the math.
Well, but that's them stopping at 18, like you said. So they're just investing while they're children, essentially, and then they get the million. So I can only imagine where it would be if they continued that habit of investing and taking advantage of compound interest.
Oh yeah, I mean they would be multi-millionaires if they kept that habit up throughout their lives. So, this is truly making your child a millionaire, maybe not now, but in the future, just for, pushing them along this path while they're still living under your roof.
But that's what it is. I mean, these are the secrets, my friends. It's not going to be the lottery, and it's not going to be some new app that they're going to develop. This is a surefire way to make it happen for your children in the future. So I'm a big fan of that. So let's talk about maybe some of the rules that we got to follow on here. You mentioned that maybe your child could work for your business. What are some rules that we need to be aware of when we're investing for our kids for a Roth IRA?
Well, the number one rule to keep in mind is that the child must have earned income, and they can only contribute to their Roth IRA up to that earned income amount. So And if you're paying your child, you have to pay them a reasonable amount. You can't pay them $100 an hour to file papers or something like that. And of course, the Roth IRA for everybody has an annual contribution limit. For 2019, that's $6,000. So, those are the major things to keep in mind. As you know, and probably a lot of the listeners know, there are income limits on who can contribute to a Roth IRA. But because this is your child who probably isn't making a six-figure income, as a teenager, you probably don't have to worry about those rules unless he or she's a movie star. Well,
let's talk about those income limits. So if my kid, let's say they make $500 and they're 10 years old or something like that, do I have to file taxes for them? How does that work?
They actually don't have to file, a tax return if they're, making under that, standard deduction amount. The exception would be, if you did issue, if you were paying them as an employee, which may or may not make sense. I mean, typically it probably wouldn't make sense, and you actually withheld taxes on them. Maybe they filed that return to get those taxes back. But, someone making $500, that's underneath the standard deduction amount. They wouldn't even have to file a tax return. Now, of course, in this show, we're not giving tax advice. We're not giving investment advice. This is just informational. Talk to your tax advisor. But many tax advisors would say that you should at least document somehow that you paid this child some money. Some tax advisors are a little more aggressive. They want to show a 1099, and then, okay, does the kid have to file? Some tax advisors say, no, you don't really have to. You don't even have to file that 1099 for that, for that child, if they don't have to file taxes anyway. So, before you jump on any of this stuff, make sure you talk to your own tax advisor.
Completely agree, Logan. These types of conversations, everybody, this is to inspire conversation. It is for entertainment purposes only. If you are interested in what we're talking about today, definitely go meet with a professional, that somebody knows your specific situation. Logan and I are talking in generic terms right now, and your situation is going to be different from anybody else that we're talking about. So very good point, Logan. Let's talk about, you mentioned the traditional IRA, why that wouldn't work. So it's because they're essentially, there's no real deduction that they're looking to have because they're not making $6,000 a year, and that's the real difference there. But what about something like a UTMA? Why wouldn't we do a UTMA versus a Roth IRA, something like that?
Well, this is of course case by case, but I'll just give you a few things to think about. If you have a UGMA, UTMA account, that'll count as your child's asset for financial aid purposes. Retirement assets are typically not. So, that's something to think of. Now, if you're a multi, bazillionaire or something like that, you don't care about financial aid because your kid's not going to get any anyway. That's not really something to consider. Another thing, to consider is that, really the Roth IRA has those income tax, benefits. It's tax-free growth over time. A UTMA might not, doesn't have that, type of a benefit. But of course, with the UTMA, you do have more flexibility, right? Because to enjoy the tax benefits of a Roth IRA, you can't, take out the earnings. You can take out the contributions, anytime tax free, but you can't take out the earnings until you're 59 and a half, or you'll pay tax on it and pay a 10% penalty. UGMA, UTMA, there aren't those kinds of restrictions. So, it's really a case-by-case thing. But if you really are looking to set up your child, not just for when he or she is in his 20s and 30s, but when he or she is in his 60s and 70s, for many folks, I think the Roth IRA would be the smart choice if your child has earned income. But, of course, that's another restriction on the Roth. The child needs to have earned income and the amount that's contributed. So obviously with UGMA, there are more, more can be, put into that account. So
yeah, I think that's a really good distinction. You're saying, hey, if you want to save for their future, for retirement, the 60s and 70s, Roth IRA is great. If you want to do some sort of gift or something like that, maybe the UTMA makes more sense for their 20s and 30s or something like that. But one point that you made there that I want to make sure that people understand, that you're allowed to take out contributions with a Roth IRA. Can you tell us that distinction again and why that's important?
Yeah. So, when you put money into a Roth IRA, you don't get a tax deduction on that money. That's money you've already earned and paid taxes on, right? So when you put it into the Roth IRA, there's no real there's no tax effect just to simply putting in the Roth IRA. So when you take it out, that principal amount you put in, that amount's already been taxed, right? Whether it was wages earned as, you're an employee or, earnings as a business owner. So the IRS isn't going to, tax you on those earnings like it would for a traditional IRA that you got a tax deduction for, right? Traditional IRA, you got a deduction for the amount you put in, you take it out, the IRS is going to make you pay tax on that. But with a Roth, because you didn't get that initial tax benefit, you don't have to you don't pay tax on what you put in.
All right. So Logan, we talked a little bit about traditional IRA, Roth IRA, UTMA. One question that popped up in my mind as we're going through this, is it better for me, or I guess generally, this is more of a general question, for people to focus on getting their kids through college than worried about their retirement in their 60s and 70s? I guess, how do you balance that as a parent? You're a parent, so how do you balance that?
Yeah, so with like a 529 plan and things like that, there obviously if you put money into a 529 plan, that's that growth won't be taxed if you take it out for educational purposes, which is a huge tax benefit. But then you also got to think, well, the child first of all would have to go to college, right? And maybe your kid's a real smarty and he or she has a lot of gets a lot of scholarships and things like that. What do you do with that 529? I mean, you could, change the beneficiary to another child, or maybe your kid's going to go to grad school. Maybe you change it to yourself, right? If you want to go pursue, some graduate degree or even some classes, right? But, there is kind of that thing to keep in mind, right? Like, what if we don't need to use it for educational purposes? But on the other hand, apart from tragic circumstances, everybody's going to retire at some point. Everybody could, most people could use some extra money in retirement. So, but the other thing is, look, you can use the Roth IRA as a college savings vehicle, if you need it, right? Because you can take out those, what you put in. That's another way to kind of look at it. But it's really just balancing. I think people, they should do both. But keep in mind, the Roth IRA, you're not going to be able to fund that thing, $10,000 a year, $15,000. Like, there's a limit on it, the statutory limit of $6,000 in 2019, and then also the limit of how much your kid made. Your kid might only make $1,000, right? So it doesn't have to be an either or thing. It can be a both and, right? Your kid makes $1,500. Okay, maybe that goes into the Roth IRA, or maybe give a little to him or her to spend, right? But that goes into the Roth IRA. Let's say it's $1,000. Okay, well. Depending on your financial situation, you probably have a bit more, during the year to stash away for your kid's education. And, that can be done at that point. So, I don't think those are conflicting things, but I think because the tax benefits of a Roth IRA are so great, if the circumstances are right and your kid has some earned income, might as well take advantage of that. And then on top of that, contribute to, educational plans.
I think that's great. It's good to know the differences between all of them and how they can benefit your kids in the future. You mentioned something to make sure the kids are having fun. They're earning this money. Let's let them have some fun with it. So let's say the parents are doing pretty well and they say, well, maybe I just want to contribute to their Roth IRA. How could that work?
Well, the parents can't contribute beyond the amount that the child has earned income. So, even if the parents make millions of dollars a year, if the kid hasn't earned anything, there could be no Roth contribution for the child at that time. I mean, maybe, this is kind of another kind of area you want to talk with your tax advisor with, but, let's say your child makes $1,000 and they spend $1,000. Well, he had earned income. What the parents just put in $1,000. I mean, that's many tax professionals are comfortable with that. The child does have earned income, but that's not one of those situations where you'd want to talk to a professional about it, because there's not necessarily strict guidance on that at this point.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the earned income side of things, because we want to make sure we're doing it the right way. What are some ways that young kids can have an earned income as they grow? You said maybe being involved in the business, and let's talk a little bit about that. What are some ideas for parents to consider for their kids to have an earned income as they're young?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of starting chronologically, obviously as a baby or an infant or a toddler, there's probably not, apart from, modeling or something like that. But as they get older and the child's mental capacities expand, there are, simple tasks that everyone needs done in their business. For example, I think I mentioned like filing paperwork and things like that. Maybe you have a rental property and, you bring a kid over there to help you clean it, or, maybe they're getting a little older now. They can do like, spreadsheets or like, respond to maintenance requests and things like that. I mean, I would just say, depending on your business, it can be anything, but I would just say, look, what are the kind of the lowest level tasks you do in your business, the kind of tasks that you might hire out to a VA right now, right? Mm-hmm. And think, okay, well, yeah, I might be able to get this VA in the Philippines, for really cheap, but, I might be willing to pay my kid kind of the standard U.S. wage for that work, because at the end of the day, he or she will be benefiting from it. So, I say, when they're young, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that kind of age, preteen, think of kind of that low level work they can do. But then when they enter junior high, high school, they might have some legitimate skills. Maybe that's, they've taken maybe a coding class or something. And, if you have a website, they could do some of that development work, or, maybe they're a really good writer, and, they could do marketing for your business. So, it's really anything. But the important thing is, you can't pay them some crazy wage for the work they're doing. It has to basically be what you'd pay, another person in your geographical area.
So not $1,000 for taking out the garbage at the house or anything like that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, you have a home office or something, and the kid cleaned the house today. That's $500. It's like, well, unless you have a mansion, but your home office price in the whole house. So, I mean, just be reasonable. I mean, you kind of know if this is kind of crossing the line, and if you're honestly not sure, ask your tax pro about it.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about if somebody wanted to open a Roth. Where's the best place for them to do that for their kids?
I mean, I'm not partial to any, particular, company or anything like that. But, the major, discount brokerages online, I mean, the ones that I'm sure you probably talked about on the show before, the Fidelities of the world and the Vanguards of the world, those places like that, they have, the capacity for you to open a Roth IRA for your child. I'm not sure, to be honest, if that can be done online as easily as it can for your own account, but a phone call to them could quickly answer that question. But basically, all the major discount brokerages, this is something you can do.
Excellent. Yeah. So picking up the phone, talking to one of those guys, and walking through the process, that makes a lot of sense. So have you gone through this process for your child, or is this something you guys are doing at home?
No, my only child is 6 weeks old.
Oh,
so,
okay. 6 weeks old. Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty early.
Yeah. So, I haven't won any modeling contracts yet. So it'd be pretty tough to, for the baby to have earned income. But, one thing one thing here that, popped into my mind, and this is another thing you want to talk to your tax professional about, but I was talking to another tax pro who works a lot with influencers, like social media influencers and things like that. And one of his clients, she posts a lot on Instagram, and most of the stuff she's posting is her kid. It's that cute face that's getting the clicks and she's earning some affiliate revenue. And the baby's very young. It's under a year old, but it's like baby clothes and like that. So he was contemplating, recommending, well, pay this kid, but, I haven't, done, that's something you want to talk to your tax pro about as well,
Sure.
to see kind of what's appropriate there and how they feel about that
Absolutely.
position.
I think we've caveated it quite a bit today, everybody. So make sure you speak with your tax pro about the specific situation, because it is tricky and everybody's situation is different. Depends on what type of work your kid's doing, how they're doing it, how they're getting paid, how you're documenting it. These are all very important things to do if you're ever considering a Roth IRA for your kids. Logan, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for walking through this with us. Where can people connect with you and learn more about you?
My website is called moneydoneright.com. That's the best place to find me and to learn more about me and what I'm up to.
Excellent. Well, Logan, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. A great topic, and hopefully it'll inspire some people to not only contribute to their kids' Roth IRA, but also to speak their tax professional to make sure they're doing it in the right manner. So thanks a lot,
That's
man.
right. Yeah, sure, Andy. Of course.